Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. On this channel, you can discover the new things on the world. What the special thing today I would like to show you. Now we go.
10 most expensive things Donald Trump owns. He's known for a lot of things, including being a former TV reality star and real estate mogul. Today, he's best known for his late-night tweets and occupation as President of the United States. Naturally, we're talking about Donald Trump. The Donald has definitely shown he has a taste for the expensive. Number 1. The Trump Building. It's impossible to talk about Donald Trump without bringing up the subject of real estate. After all, throughout the previous few decades, America's current president did make his name by buying and selling multi-million-dollar pieces of land. Perhaps nowhere else on the planet is the Trump brand more visible than New York City. Throughout the 1980s and 90s, Trump purchased various iconic structures for relatively little money. Today, some of those real estate deals have really paid off. Take for instance the building found at 40 Wall Street, built in 1930. The Bank of Manhattan Trust Building was at one time the tallest building ever made thanks to its 71 stories. Over the decades, it fell into decline in 1995. Donald Trump swooped in and bought it for $10 million. If you're thinking that's a good deal, it gets even better when you learn that today, this piece of real estate is valued around $500 million. The Donald doesn't fully own the building yet, as there are reports he still has a $50 million mortgage outstanding. Nonetheless, thanks to the giant gold letters over the entrance, there is no mistaking who owns this piece of Manhattan. Number 2. Trump Princess. Now that he's President of the United States, Donald Trump likely doesn't have as much spare time to kick back and relax. Sure, there's the whole Mar-a-Lago and golf weekend thing, but beyond that, we hear it's a pretty busy lifestyle. Because of this, it's probably a good thing that Trump sold his massive yacht. Nonetheless, while he doesn't currently own it, we think it's worth mentioning because of how impressive it was. This super yacht was originally built in 1984 for a Saudi billionaire. At the time, it cost $100 million, which in today's money is roughly $290 million. In some savvy business dealing, Donald Trump was able to buy this beast in the late 80s for a measly $29 million. What did they get him? Renamed the Trump Princess. The yacht had 5 decks, a cinema and several suites. Pretty luxurious if you ask us, always looking for bigger and better things. It was reported that Trump even had plans for a larger yacht in the war. However, in the early 90s, facing financial problems and the realization that boats are a terrible investment, he sold the Trump Princess to another Saudi billionaire for a loss at $20 million. Number 3. Avenue of America's Buildings. 1290 Avenue of the Americas sits between 51st and 52nd. The street in Manhattan was built in 1964 and underwent a huge renovation just a few years ago. In terms of individual properties, this one is worth a reporting whooping $2.3 billion. The office space, which is home to the likes of Microsoft, and just steps away from the Rockefeller Center, is one of Trump's priciest real estate ventures. It's also one of his most prized. However, he doesn't actually own the building, just a part of it. You see, Trump only owns 30% of 1290 Avenue of the Americas. The rest is owned by another company linked to a massive deal between Chinese investors and Trump. Go into the whole story, but it would take far too long. Nonetheless, in terms of investment, Trump's stake in this piece of real estate is said to be worth around $410 million. It may not sound or looks as flashy as some of the other Trump properties, but 1290 is actually an incredibly important piece in the Trump family portfolio. Number 4. Mercedes S600 Guard. We don't normally associate Donald Trump with cars. After all, his image is usually linked to high-end real estate deals, reality TV, or currently the White House. Don't be fooled, however. The president is a man who places an incredible amount of importance on appearance, and this extends to what cars he likes. Sure, he'd prepared to fly from point A to point B in his 757 jet or his Sikorsky helicopter, but that's not always possible, especially now that he is president. No, it's Marine One, Air Force One, and the Beast for him, while the presidential limo is pretty sweet. So it's Trump's regular civilian luxury car, a Mercedes Maybach S600. But this is no regular S600. This is the 600 Guard Special Edition with extra protection, because you never know what the mean streets of New York are going to throw at you. The stretch sedan is bullet resistant, however, by a 6.0L Volume 12 engine, and reportedly comes with its own air supply and run flat tires. Sure, it's no presidential limo, but at just over $500,000, this German luxury car combines the best of performance with all the VIP perks you would want. Number 5. Seven Springs. You likely know that when President Trump is looking to get away from Washington, D.C. for a quick weekend vacation, he usually heads down to Florida, where you can find his Mar-a-Lago resort. Unofficially, it's been given the name the White House of the South. Interestingly, there isn't a White House of the North. Well, there may be, it's just that Trump doesn't seem to want to use it when it's cold. The place we're talking about is Trump's Seven Springs estate in Westchester, New York. This sprawling 230-acre property was purchased by Trump in 1996 for $7.5 million. Initially, he wanted to turn the location into the world-class golf course. Public outcry from nearby residents put a hold to that. So for now, the rest of his family enjoys the state while the Donald spends time in Washington and Florida. The 50,000 square foot mansion comes completely with 60 rooms, 3 pools, and 2 servants' wings for all the help you never need to maintain this place. Today, Seven Spring is estimated to be worth around $20 million. The Trumps, however, will tell you it's worth nearly $290 million. Alright, since we're talking about President Trump and his money, let's keep those two together for our quiz. Do you know how much money President Trump gets paid per year in his possession as President of the United States? Think it over while we assess some of Trump's other high ruler titles. Number 6. Charlottesville State. Donald Trump doesn't drink alcohol, not a drop. That fact surprises many people who don't know a lot about the president. Perhaps what is surprising is that one of Trump's estates and investments is all about wine. That's right, the president owns a vineyard and winery located in Charlottesville, Virginia. Okay, technically, his son Eric is in charge of the palace, but we all know who is really running the show. In any case, in the 1990s, the state was owned by Patricia Klug, the wife of billionaire John Klug. She took out massive loans in an effort to transform the several hundred acres into a winery. Then the Klugs fell on financially difficult times. In 2011, things fell through after Klug tried to sell the whole venture for $100 million. Enter Donald Trump. Shrewd business dealings meant that Trump was able to eventually purchase the entire property with all of its equipment for around $15 million, as still considering the original asking price. Today, Forbes values that estate at around $30 million, although we figure that price will only increase thanks to Trump's position in Washington. Number 7. Lamborghini Diablo. Donald Trump has stayed for a rather expensive cars. We've already discussed the Mercedes 600, and you'll already seen the Mercedes SLR, McLaren, and Rolls-Royce Phantom. But did you know about Donald Trump's Lamborghini? While he no longer owns it, we thought you'd be interested to know that in the late 90s, the now President of the United States owned and operated a Lamborghini Diablo. The car in question was purchased in 1996 and sold a few years later, painted a very rare lemons blue. Trump's Diablo had a 492 horsepower engine and four-wheel drive to ensure the Donald always had maximum traction. We only imagine why he ended up selling it. Although, to be honest, someone of Trump's stature likely found it difficult getting into and out of the rather low-sitting Italian exotic when he sold it. Trump had no idea how popular the car would become. For example, in 2016, his old Lamborghini actually sold in an eBay auction for $460,000. That's a lot more than most Diablos of the same age. Number 8. Trump International Hotel and Tower, Chicago. It's not all about New York and Washington, D.C. When it comes to Donald Trump, the real estate mogul has famous and high-priced buildings all over the globe. Take for instance the Trump International Hotel and Tower in Chicago, with 98 floors and 2.6 million square feet of space. This Trump building has more than enough room for an array of retail, parking, hotel, and condominium use. There are also restaurants and a spa to round out the experience. Estimate place the cost of building this structure at nearly $850 million. Now, we all know cost to build and ownership value are not the same thing. Today, Forbes estimate the building's worth in the neighborhood of $150 million. Add into that the fact that it brings in around $6 million a year in rent and property sales, and it's easy to see why this Chicago state is one of the Trump's favorites. Well, actually, when we think about it, maybe Trump likes this building so much because the climactic fight scene between the Joker and Batman in The Dark Knight happened in this very building. And here we thought Batman lived and got hung. Number 9. Gold Clubs. When you think of trivial, yet ridiculously expensive things Donald Trump's own, you might think of the golden toilet he allegedly uses. We've all seen the photos of the toilet the president supposedly had installed in his penthouse. Unfortunately, it's not true. Oh, the golden toilet exists, but it's actually a Hong Kong tycoon who owns it, and not the donor. Don't be too upset though. President Trump does own one golden item that is high priced and likely not in your possession. A gold golf club. We don't know the price of his complete set or if he only uses golden balls, but we don't know for a fact that one of his drivers is pretty pricey. You see, when he met with the Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, Trump was given a Honda Bears S05 driver, made of titanium and carbon. This particular club cost $3,755. Of course, given the present was for Trump. Abe made sure that it also had a gold trim. Given reporters have pictured the president hitting golf balls with his expensive driver, we can say he must like it a lot. Number 10. Suits. When you people talk about the high-priced things President Trump owns, they rightfully focus on the big-ticket items like buildings, golf courses, resort and planes. However, Trump also places a lot of value on what he looks like. It's why he sprays tans and dyes his hair. Image is everything. This can also be seen in a suit he wears. Now we'll just get the obvious out of the way first. Yes, President Trump has been roundly criticized for looking rather unpolished in his suit. They look ill-fitting with oversized pants, seemingly untailored waistline on his jacket with his sleeves that are much too long. It all ends up kind of making him look like he's a kid wearing his father's outfits. In fact, it can make it look like Trump's suits are cheap. Trust us, somehow they are not. We all know that President loves expensive things, and that's why he turns to Italian label Brioni for the majority of his suits. These suits cost anywhere from $6,000 to $17,000, so they are not cheap. Unfortunately, as we've seen with the president, it's not what you wear, but how you wear it. So, any idea how much Donald Trump gets paid for being President of the United States? The answer, $400,000 a year. That salary came into effect when George W. Bush took up office and doesn't include the annual expense, travel, and entertainment accounts available to the president.
Thanks for your watching this video. When you subscribe, you get more new videos. And don't forget like and share my channel. Thank you and have a great time.